Good morning. Live in Miami today, Miami, Notre Dame. What's going on, everybody? Y'all give me just a few minutes here. I got something special this morning, too. I have a treat for you this morning. Yep, that's right. City. Yeah, good morning. Hey, good morning. Yeah. So good games today. Yeah, there has to be. Has to be a bunch of good games today. Let's see, how'd that be? Uh-oh. Hold on. What am I doing? Yeah, that's better. So how's everyone doing? What's up, John? Sean, keeping it turnt, fishing with tiny bass in Pigskin Pete, Justin, William Hood, good morning, Kyle, go Dogs, Mike Roy, Joe Lewisell, Hoghead, good morning, sir, Garrett Ivy, CD, Paul Warren, what's the problem? Is Tennessee beating Missouri today, sir? No! My dad! Somebody with the name Your Dad is here. Hi, Dad! Pigskin, Harambee, Average Troll, Tyler Ivy, Johnny Mercedes, Mike, Alabama Man, roll Tiger, woo! Whoa, Tiger, Alabama Man. Whoa, Tiger. Gus Malzahn, Alabama Man. Weed option, beep, boop. Sammy. Yeah, what's happening? Hey, somebody reminded me I forgot to do the, good morning. I forgot to do the come get you some of this thing this week. And a bunch of people were kind enough to remind me about that in the comments section this week over and over and over and over and over again all week long. So I figured maybe I'll do the come get you some thing live on Gameday Live with Uncle Lou. So I will do that this morning, maybe during a commercial or something. I'll go ahead and give a message to these barners, let them know if they want some, they can come get you some. Yeah, I got my contacts in today so I can actually see these comments. I wear contacts most of the time, but I'm terrible about taking them out at night. So like once I put them in, I usually wear them for like 2 weeks at a time until my eyes start bleeding. Basically, then I'll take them out, wear my glasses for a couple of days. So that's why I had my glasses on the last few days. Let's see. It's already been brought in. Yep, Sean Rigdon says UGA 24-23. I can see that happening. My official score prediction for this game is somewhere in the neighborhood of 27-23, 28-20, 27-24, somewhere in that range. In that range there. Yeah. Good morning, Connor. Yep, 24-17. Yep, maybe. A couple people saying they're nervous about this game. Somebody asked me this morning, what, if anything, makes me nervous about this game. So, first of all, I think Georgia's going to win. Well, let me say a couple of things here. I think Georgia's going to win this game. That's number one. Number two, it doesn't matter, okay? Georgia could lose this game. It doesn't matter. Georgia and Alabama are the only two teams in America that have margin for error right now, okay? You saw Washington lose last night. They're done, okay? They're out of the playoff. There's no way for them to make it now. There's no other team right now in the top 10 that has any margin of error other than UGA or Bama. So if Bama or UGA, either one, lose today, they can still make the playoff. So in that respect, this game doesn't matter for UGA. But somebody asked me if I had to pick something that worried me about this game, what would it be? I said, well, two things. One, we got to find a way to limit big plays by Auburn. Missouri burned us a couple of times with some deep passes, and Auburn has the ability to do that. They have a couple of good receivers, and while I don't think Stidbaloney is an elite quarterback, he can hit an open receiver on a 50-yard pass. So we've got to keep the receivers in front of us on those deep post routes and corner routes and go routes that they like to try. We've got to limit the big plays. So that would be one concern. If Auburn hits a bunch of big plays on us, that would be one concern. My second concern is not so much of a concern as it is an unknown, and that would be what happens in this game if UGA were to fall behind by 10 or 14 points. Would we go away from our... I know obviously it would depend at what point in the game that is, but let's say in the third quarter we're down 14. What happens? I have all the faith in the world in Fromm. He's done everything we've asked him to do, but you can't know what you don't know. And I understand all the stuff about, well, he was in the Little League World Series and he hit a home run. That's great. He played good in high school. That's amazing. But listen, I've been following college football a long time. I've seen a lot of people that were elite in high school or Little League. Doesn't mean that always translate to college football or the SEC. Now, Fromm has lived up to the hype so far. He's done everything we've asked him to do, but you can't know what you don't know. Fromm has not been asked to win us a game, period. He just hasn't, okay? Auburn does have the best defense that we've seen so far this year. So concern number two would be, what happens if we're struggling to run the ball and we fall down by 10 to 14 points and Fromm has to win us the game? Can Fromm throw the ball when other teams know we're going to be throwing the ball? That doesn't mean I don't think Fromm can do it. That just means that's something we haven't seen yet, okay? So before anybody jumps on me, calls me a Fromm hater or whatever, if you're going to nail me down and make me pick two concerns, that's what those two concerns would be. How does Fromm react if we fall down late in the game or at some point in the second half and the run game is slowed down? How does he respond? You have to remember, as good as he's looked, he doesn't have a whole lot of experience, not just in terms of number of games played. Obviously, he's a true freshman, but just in terms of number of passes thrown. He just hasn't thrown that many passes. So there are coverages, there are defenses, there are fronts, there are blitzes, there are stunts that Jake Fromm just has not seen yet. That's not his fault. Doesn't mean he can't handle them. Just means he hasn't seen them yet, and that he just hasn't thrown a high enough number of passes to have seen every possible coverage, look, front, stunt, blitz combination type deal. And how does he respond in the second half of a big game if we're behind, running game's not working, Auburn knows we're going to be throwing the ball? How does Jake Fromm respond? That would be my only other concern, other than limiting the big plays from Auburn. Again, doesn't mean I don't think Fromm can do it. Just means I haven't seen him do it yet because he hasn't had to. So that's a long answer to a short question for you there. Lou, is the Alabama dynasty coming to an end? Well, well, I'm not going to get in the business of discussing that. It, it depends, I guess, on what you consider coming to an end. Do you have to win a title to keep the dynasty going? I mean, if they didn't win the title last year, but they played in the title game, if the same thing happens this year, is the dynasty over? If they don't make the playoff this year, is the dynasty over? I mean, I don't know. You know, seems to me you'd have to wait a year or two down the road. I wouldn't say it's over right now. Allenarts, good morning, sir. Appreciate the kind words. Yeah. What's up, Richard? So y'all tell me, I ask this every week, other than your team's game, you know, so if you're a Georgia fan, you can't say the Georgia-Auburn game. If you're a Tennessee fan, you can't say Tennessee-Missouri. Other than the game that your team is playing in today, what game are you most looking forward to watching today? For me, it's probably going to be Notre Dame-Miami. And luckily, that's a night game. We got kind of lucky today. The last few weeks, all the big games have been on the same time the Georgia game was on, it seems like. This week, I get to watch the Georgia game at 3:30, and then tonight, I can watch TCU, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Miami, and Alabama, Mississippi State. I can flip back and forth between those three. Shaheed Muhammad, thank you, sir. Anybody think Miami's going to win this game? I'm sure there's one or two out there. I don't see it happening. Of course, I was wrong last week. I picked Virginia Tech to win. Florida at USC Junior. Yeah, pretty sure USC Junior wins that one. Florida State and Clemson. I think Clemson rolls big in that game. Chubb over 100 yards. That doesn't mean anything. With the kind of offense that Georgia runs and the way we rotate running backs in and out, 100, whether Chubb has 100 yards, 75 yards, or 175 yards, really, you can't look at Chubb's rushing numbers and say, well, that means we did good or that means we did bad. The more important thing to look at with our running backs is yards per carry. If our running backs are getting 5, 6, 7 yards per carry this game, that's good for UGA. We just don't run any single running back enough to try to place importance on a 100-yard game. John Bryant says Notre Dame is overrated in my opinion. Well, you can think that if you want to. They beat everybody they've played by 30 and 40 points with the exception of one team. So, yeah. Mark Rick can't win the big game. Well, he won a big one last week. This one's at home, too. We'll see how Miami bounces back. Now, I do think Notre Dame is a whole lot better than Virginia Tech. This is going to be the best offense Miami has played this year. Notre Dame's running game is no joke, 350 yards a game, and they don't run the triple option. They run a traditional spread offense. So to be getting 350 a game rushing with that type of offense, I mean, they've got a Heisman candidate at running back, that Adams. Wimbush, not a very good passer. Definitely not an elite passer. He can complete some passes when he needs to, but not an elite passer, but he can run the ball. So we'll see what happens. I agree with that, Ryan Head. The Notre Dame UGA game really shouldn't have been that close. Fromm's first start on the road at Notre Dame at night. We had almost 200 yards in penalties that game. You know, if you watch that game, it was much more likely that UGA won that game by 10-14 than it would have been for Notre Dame to win it by 2 or 3, even though it came down to that at the end. UGA, the score didn't reflect really how that game went, but still Notre Dame is a good team. Harambee says he called me. Yeah, I know. You called me. You've emailed me nonstop. Keep up the good work, sir. I'm very proud of you, son. Yeah, McCole had to drop that game. It's been a problem for him. Although he seemed to have turned. Maybe McCole turned a corner last week. He had a good game last week against Carolina. Maybe the dropsies bug or whatever he had, he's gotten over it. And that would be huge for Georgia. FSU will keep it close with Clemson? Maybe. Gus Bus done today. I think if Auburn loses to Georgia and Alabama, they're going to fire Gus Malzahn. I don't see how Auburn can keep a coach that's lost 8 in a row to Georgia and Alabama. I just don't understand that. Somebody is stuck between choosing Georgia or South. I don't even need to read the rest of that. Anytime you're trying to choose something between Georgia and South Carolina, Georgia is the correct answer. So tell your husband to rep the G, become a savage. Yep, and go ahead and become a Georgia Bulldog. Yeah, it's the right thing to do. Auburn has Kerryon Johnson. Well, Auburn had Kerryon Johnson last year, and Kerryon Johnson had a decent game last year. He ran for almost 100 yards, 99 yards, but they still lost. They scored 1 touchdown last year. They blamed it on not having Cam Petaway. They don't have Cam Petaway again this year. He's injured. So we'll see. Georgia's got to get pressure on Jarrett Stidbaloney. Georgia's been up and down with pressure in the quarterback this year. Florida, we had their quarterback running for his life. First half of the Mizzou game, no pressure on the quarterback. Second half, a little bit better. Notre Dame game, we did a good job getting pressure on the quarterback. But there's been 4 or 5 other games where we didn't pressure. No sacks, no pressures, no knockdowns, nothing. I don't think we can just let Stidbaloney stay in the pocket and pick us apart like that. If you watch some of the games that that Auburn has struggled in, particularly the Clemson game, that's how they did it. They rattled Stidbaloney. Stidbaloney does not play well under pressure. He gets nervous. He gets in a hurry. He leaves the pocket too soon. Anyway, point is, we need to get some pressure on Jarrett Stidbaloney today. If we've got to send some linebackers every once in a while, send a defensive back off the corner, defensive line stunts, whatever we got to do, we got to find a way, I think, to get some pressure on Jarrett Stidbaloney. Alabama's average. I tend to agree. Would we beat Mississippi State by 31-3? So we'll see what Alabama does, Will. 24-10, Georgia. I think Auburn's the best offense we faced this year. They're very balanced offense. I think they're one of the few offenses in America that's averaging over 200 rushing and over 200 passing. Is it possible we hold Auburn at 10 points? Yeah, that's possible. But you got to remember, that quarterback they had last year couldn't complete a single pass. I mean, the guy looked lost. As bad as Stidbaloney is, he's better than that guy. I wouldn't bet on us holding Auburn under 10 points, but it wouldn't be the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But I think it's more likely Auburn scores around the 20-point range, 17-24, somewhere in there, sort of like what Notre Dame did. I'm 39. Somebody asked how old I was. I didn't catch the name. Sorry about that, sir. The comments are scrolling kind of fast, but I'm 30. Am I 39? Yeah, I'm 39. Alabama is average. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, Natrez is back. That's huge. Georgia's defense has played well the last few weeks, but we had some players out. We had some injuries. We got all those guys back now. We had some young guys playing inside linebacker, and I didn't talk a lot about it on video because overall we played so well. But I've seen several times over the last few weeks where a running back ran right by an inside linebacker, like the inside linebacker didn't even see him. So that's a product of youth and inexperience. So it's good to have Natrez back for sure. Him and Roquan are hell on wheels. Besides the UJ game, which game grabs your attention the most today? Well, obviously I'll be watching the top 10 games, Notre Dame, Miami, TCU, Oklahoma. I'll keep an eye on the Alabama-Mississippi State game. Ohio State, Michigan State, it doesn't really hold the importance that it would have held had Ohio State not lost last week. Big Ten in trouble if Wisconsin can't. Well, Wisconsin-Iowa was a game to keep an eye on. Because if Wisconsin loses a game, the Big Ten's out of the playoff. Pac-12 out. If you saw the Washington game last night, they lost. Look, I keep telling y'all, and I know I picked Washington to win, but I told you in that video, I said you got to be careful with these weeknight games, these Thursday and Friday night games, where a ranked, favored team is playing an underdog on the road, right? And that's what happened. Washington had to travel to unranked Stanford. So Washington had to go on the road on a Friday night. Washington, a top 10 team. Stanford not ranked. I told you, I said, you got to watch out for these games. That's where Clemson lost. There's tons of examples of this every single football season, okay? I don't know what it is, why, if it's a travel thing, if it's getting the schedule out of whack. I don't know. But this happens a lot. And it happened last night. And Stanford knocked off Washington, so the Pac-12 is done now. No way for... All right. Whoever is calling me, and it's one of y'all, stop, okay? Because it's cutting out the video every time you do it. So, I have a feeling I know who it is, and you know, I don't want to have to block you, but I will. But don't be ridiculous. You can call me 24 hours a day except when I'm doing a live video, okay? Don't call me while I'm doing a live video, because that's not my actual phone number that you're calling, sir. That's a ghost number that works over Wi-Fi. And so when you call, it boots me off the, it makes the video freeze up, so don't be an asshat. Yeah, Frome passing, not Frome, Chubb passing Bo today at Auburn, which will be something serious. Will Florida be a beast next year? No. No matter what coach they get, they're a year or two away. Minimum. What's up, Slim? If you were AD, who would you hire at Florida? Serious answer. I think it looks to me like they're probably looking at like a Scott Frost type guy. It's a name I'm hearing a lot. Some people are trying to tell me Chip Kelly. I don't see it happening, although I wish it would. That would be an epic disaster. Chip Kelly in the SEC would be the biggest fail, one of the biggest fails of all time. It just would not work for a variety of reasons. I'm praying that I think Chip Kelly would rather go back to the West Coast. UCLA is probably going to have an opening. At least one of the Arizona schools is going to have an opening. Oregon State should have an opening. That's where I think Chip Kelly and probably Jim McElwain both will land, is somewhere out west. Do I think FSU can pull an upset? Wouldn't be the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but I haven't seen anything from Florida State this year that makes me think they can compete with Clemson. I mean, they've just completely given up and fallen off the cliff. So there's no way I can pick that, and that's at Clemson, right? I don't see that happening. Hugh Freeze to Florida? No one's hiring Hugh Freeze. You can't hire Hugh Freeze. You're gonna, I mean, it's gonna be years before Hugh Freeze gets another job, if ever, because of he'll have a show cause clause put on him by the NCAA. So that's just the way it is. John Bryant says he's going to the game. Yeah, y'all probably will win. Yeah, you can't hire Freeze. Just not happening. Alabama man wants to fight everyone in the comments section. Okay. How many points do you think we win by? I would say somewhere in the 4 to 7 range today. Hope I'm wrong and it's not a close game, but I have a feeling we might be sweating this one out. I know it was you, Lou. Harambee, I know it was you. Just don't call during the live video, man. Have some sense about you, dude. I don't mind the non-stop trolling emails. I don't even mind you calling me all the time and at odd hours of the day and stuff like that, because I'm just going to be real with you. Like I told you, that's not my real cell phone number. It's a ghost number. It's an app. So I just turned the app off, and I don't even know that you're calling 100 times. So, yeah. The Alabama man's mad as hell. Yeah. Chubb or Love? Chubb is a better running back than Bryce Love. Love's going to have the stats. Love's going to get the Heisman attention because he's all Stanford has. If you've seen Stanford play with Love versus without Love, he's all they have. People ask me all the time, how come Chubb's not getting any consideration for the Heisman? The Heisman is a season award, not a career award, okay? Nothing Nick Chubb has done this year screams Heisman. He just doesn't get enough carries. It doesn't have anything to do with him not being a good running back or whatever. He doesn't get the amount of carries that you need as a running back to even be considered for the Heisman. I mean, to get the Heisman, you got to have 15, 16, 17, 1,800 yards rushing. Chubb's not going to get that. He's going to be around 1,200 would be my guess. Eason transferring in the offseason? If so, where? I think he probably does. I think he probably goes to the West Coast. He's from there. That would be my gut feeling, is that he goes back out there. Sparty over the Buckeyes. Wouldn't surprise me. No way. I just can't rely on J.T. Barrett. He's terrible. He's just too inconsistent. I think I picked Ohio State to win that game, but I said to bet Michigan State and take the points. You are a bad troll, Harambee. You're not creative. Just, look, listen, Harambee. Leaving 15 comments in a row in the comments section where the first one says War Eagle, the second one says Roll Tide, the third one says Hail State, the fourth one says Go South Carolina, the fifth one says Go Vols. That's not creative. I love creative trolling. So you just need to work on it a little bit. It's just like all these emails that you keep sending me. They're not funny. If you want some attention from Uncle Lou, which you obviously do because you email me like 15 times, and then when I don't reply, you send me 15 emails about how come I didn't reply. So it's obvious you want attention, and I don't mind giving you some attention, but you have to do something that grabs my attention. You have to do something funny. Just making 100 comments that say you support 100 different teams is not funny, it's just retarded. So that's sort of my philosophy on that. So I'm trying to give you some advice here. I want to give you what you need, which is attention, but you just got to do a better job, buddy.
Right now, you can have life insurance for up to $500,000 without taking a medical exam and without leaving your home. We're Fast Life, and we're going to make this easy and fast. Odds are that you don't have enough insurance, or you're paying way too much for what you got, or you don't have any, and that's not good. Listen, nobody likes to think about life insurance, but we're grown-ups now, so call and protect your family. 1-800-254-9567, or go to fastlife.life. You've got insurance? That's great, but you may be able to get more coverage and pay less than what you're paying now. And with no medical exam, you can get it right over the phone, and that's fast.
The trolls are winning. What's up, Hayden? Trolls are winning. But it is what it is. Anyway, yeah. It wasn't Harambee. 90 proof. Luther! You drunk. Quit calling me Luther. Yeah. So, well, good morning! Yeah, I know it wasn't you that time, Harambee. Different number. I know it wasn't you. Do you think the 49ers will go 0-16? I never think anybody will go. I would never bet on that. It's possible. They're terrible, but they may get lucky and win a game or two. Auburn hate video. Hey, Barner. Auburn fan. The plane. 678-430-2321. 678-430-2321. 678-430-2321. 678-430-2321. 678-430-2321. 678-430-2321. Yeah. Anyway, Auburn. Auburn. The Cow College. The Plainsmen. The War Eagles and the War Tigers. You lost to the team that lost to Troy. You couldn't even score, what'd you score, 6 points against the Taters. You said you couldn't beat us last year because Cam Petaway was hurt. And you spent all off season and the whole first half of the season telling Uncle Lou that you're beating us this year and Cam Petaway's winning the Heisman unless Jarrett Stidbaloney wins it. And he'll rush for 250 yards against UGA. Well, now Cam Petaway out again. You got something called carry-on luggage. Say he's playing. Well, carry-on luggage played last year, had 100 yards. You toted a giant L and scored 7 points. You lost to one of the worst Georgia offenses in history. We beat you without scoring a single offensive touchdown. We beat you with one of the worst offenses we've had this century. This year, we're scoring 20 more points per game than we were scoring last year. You're basically the same team you were last year with a tiny, tiny upgrade at quarterback. But guess what? Our defense is so much better than last year, it's not going to matter. But because I'm a nice guy and I'm fair, okay? And I care about you, Barner. I care about you. And because I've done this and made this deal or arrangement or agreement or whatever you want to call it with 9 other crap teams this year, I'll make the same deal with you. Okay? I will make a deal with you. You want some of my Georgia Bulldogs? Are you sure? Are you sure? Auburn, you want some of my Georgia Bulldogs? Well, I tell you what. Meet us at that cow pasture, trailer park with bleachers that you call a football stadium at 3:30 Athens time. Nobody cares. Central time is the biggest. Central time is a joke. Central time in general is stupid. So 3:30 Athens time, Eastern. Meet us at that cow pasture trailer park with bleachers you call a football stadium. Georgia will be there. You can show up too. Get you a good seat too. And watch Nick Chubb pass the best running back you've ever had on the SEC all-time rushing list. And you don't even have to stay at the game long. You can watch it in the first minute or two of the game because it's going to happen on his first or second carry. Nick Chubb played behind Todd Gurley for his first year. Sat out half his second year with a blowed out knee. Played at about 60% last year. And now this year. And he's better than the best player Auburn has ever had. Ever. And you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take Uncle Lou's word for it. You can Google these stats. Or you can even ask somebody. You know who you can ask? You can ask Bo. You can ask Bo Jackson. If you can find him. This social recluse, Bo Jackson, living out what's left of his days in a log cabin somewhere in the middle of the woods, sitting down in his basement whittling homemade bow and arrows like a weirdo. What a social retard this Bo Jackson. But like I said, Chubb gonna pass him today. And don't take my word for it. I'm not the only one that knows. Bo knows! 3:30 Athens time. Come get you some of this, bitch!